right, we back. Playa T, that's me, Hollywood in the hood. Doing it really, really big. Y'all see who I got with me right here. But if you're still sleeping, let me wake y'all up right now. Joe Hemphill. Now, Joe is with Paladin Initiative. What's up, Joe? Now, Joe, let's tell the people exactly what that's about, the Paladin Initiative. What is that?
Sure. The Paladin Initiative is an initiative that's motivated to alleviating poverty in Northeast Ohio. And we look to do that by collaborating with the groups that already exist to provide economic development, personal development, entrepreneurship opportunities, crime prevention, and basically just do good. The Urban Dictionary defines a paladin, and they do it way better than I do. This is according to Urban Dictionary. But
listen to this, because I didn't got schooled on what the Paladin, and I like it. I'm here to tell y'all.
Yeah. Well, the paladin is basically a class of warrior that's fully devoted to ridding the universe of evil. They're very religious, have an extremely strict code of honor, as well as a soft spot for children and animals. In combat, a paladin with a cause is impossible to defeat. Paladins fear nothing, evil fears them.
Oh! Huh?
And just to go on, in my research, paladins are the lowest rank in the army of God. You at the highest rank, you got the archangels like Gabriel, and at the lowest rank, you got paladins. And what struck me in my spiritual research when I came up with the inspiration for this organization was that people don't know what it is. But it's an earthly manifestation of a soldier of God. That's what a paladin is. But if you ask anybody what's a paladin, they don't know what it is. And I think that's strictly by design by the enemy. If the enemy is able to make us forget that we are soldiers in the army of God, then he's able to wreak evil in the world. Just like that gentleman who went out, that you were talking about, that just got out of jail, went out and did a crime to go back in. That if he was able to realize that he's a soldier in the army of God, and he doesn't have to be institutionalized, he doesn't have to have a life in jail, because that's what he did. That's why he did it. I mean, when I listened to your monologue, I said, that's why he did it. He's institutionalized. I mean, 1 out of 3 African-American males is in jail right now. I mean, to go on further, when I was doing my research, I started studying white supremacist groups. And
hold on. Okay. In your spiritual research,
spiritual research, yes,
you were studying white supremacist groups?
Yes, sir.
Now, why would one be studying white supremacy in their spiritual research?
Well, let's talk about the epidemiology of white supremacy. Where did it come from? What is it about? What's the physiology of white supremacy? The basis of white supremacy is that the white man, particularly the white man, is superior to everyone else. They're superior. So.
Yeah, I believe they wholeheartedly believe that, those types. I mean, you look at the White House, you look at the money, is white folks on the money, you know what I mean? Yeah, okay, something going on somewhere. Where they thinking like that, okay? Not everybody.
It is definitely going on. I mean, it's in spiritual in nature, and I'm going to get to that in just 1 second. But when you understand that white supremacy is based upon the supremacy of the white man, and that's to the exclusion of everyone else. If you're not a white man, or if you're a white man that doesn't subscribe to white supremacy, you're the enemy. Excuse me. If you are not a white man and you don't subscribe to white supremacy, you are the enemy.
Wow, hold on, not to cut you.
Not the enemy of me, but the enemy of the white supremacists.
Enemy, right.
But let's go ahead.
No, they was trying to say the guy who shot up the school, white supremacists came out and said he's one of them, that he's been training up under these white supremacist groups. Yeah, the white supremacists came out yesterday and said that the young man, Mr. Cruz, the shooter, that he allegedly went to their training.
And they got more.
So I don't know if this is the thing about they're mad at people that's not subscribing to white supremacy.
It's deep. I'm about to go deep. I follow one group called the Red Elephants, It's over 250,000 of these people.
And that's a white supremacist.
That's a white supremacist group. It's called the Red Elephants. You can go on Facebook. You can find them right now. And let me just go back to breaking down white supremacy. So if you are not a white man, even if you're a white woman, you're still a second-class citizen. Look at Trump and how he treats women.
Yeah, he grabs them by the you-know-what.
Right.
He grabs them by the you-know-what.
They may, now, white supremacists, they won't tell you, some of them won't tell you, but you look at what they do. And why I'm opposed to white supremacists and why I was looking at white supremacy in my spiritual research is because it's evil. It's evil. It's evil incarnate. If you are saying, I'm a white man and I'm superior to everyone else on earth, in fact, you know, you're evil. I mean, because think about it. The people that brought us over here from Africa were white supremacists. The slave master was a white supremacist. The prejudiced dude that put all black people in poor areas was a white supremacist. Because wait a minute, redlining, blockbusting, all these things led to the creation of the black neighborhood, of the hood. It was a creation of white supremacy. The cop who puts on his badge and go out and shoots a brother because he's black, he's a white supremacist and he's evil. Understand that this is a spiritual battle. This is not racial at all. It never has been. If I want to make you a slave, if I want to rape your mother, and these are all things that happen, if I want to take your wealth just because you're doing better because you're a different color, that's evil. This has always been a battle between good and evil. So that brings me to the Paladins. You look in our community, like the guy that went into school and shot up all those kids. If you're killing kids, you're evil.
Yeah.
I mean, so if we look out here and we see all this signs and blueprints of the enemy, evil, we need something that will combat that.
Well, let's put everybody into perspective, Joe, because people want to know how you even got on that route, how you even brought yourself to the realization of needing to conduct a spiritual research. Now, you were telling me candidly about your mom before we came on there. Your mom was very important to the community and very important to your life. Speak to it.
My mother was a soldier. She was a soldier of goodness. She owned Little Rascals Daycare. She started that, helped the children in the community for years. She was just a pioneer. She was one of the first black people to graduate from UCLA. She was the first black buyer for 2 major Fortune 500 companies. She was the first black executive of Jo-Ann Fabrics, and she was, like I just said, a business owner. She bought the historic Clark School of Dressmaking, where she was showing people, like a lot of seamstresses and black designers learned from my mother.
Wow.
And then she went on to have a daycare, and she was an activist in the community. She was a multiple-time president of National Council.
To your knowledge, had your mother ever embarked on a spiritual realization, or a spiritual?
I believe that when my mother died, and I was at her side, I wasn't a Christian. Now, I'm not saying, now Christ is my Savior, and I hope he will be yours too. But I want you to have a relationship with God. But let me just tell you, when my mother died, I wasn't spiritual at all.
I wasn't spiritual at all when your mom died.
No.
But you were by her side.
But I was by her side, and what happened over the course of time, I discovered God. And then when I discovered God, I then discovered the mission that he wanted me to do. And it's very simple. I'm not special. I'm just a regular dude. But we all can be paladins. We all can be soldiers in the army of God and do good. And each and every one of us said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of hearing about these stories of evil winning. I'm going to do something good to bring about the furtherment of good. When I was little, I witnessed my father shoot my mother and my grandfather. Not fatally, but I witnessed that. And
How old were you?
I was 2. And I still remember it. I still had nightmares about it. And when you witness a trauma that severe, oh no, don't be sorry. Because God doesn't do things to you, he does things for you. I mean, this made me, I mean, when you want to make steel, you take it through fire.
Yeah.
And so I've been through the fire. But let me tell you why it's significant. Because I didn't get the chance to see my father, you know, all that old story about I don't know my dad that well, but I got a chance to get to know my dad when he got older, blah, blah, blah. Was angry at my dad for what my dad did, blah, blah, blah. He couldn't come around me because he shot my mother and my grandfather, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, at that time I wasn't spiritual.
Yeah,
So
you're only
my-
two.
I wasn't nothing.
Spiritual at two is, the cornflakes, and then I'm going to cry if I can't get the cornflakes. That's how spiritual I am with it. You know what I'm saying?
But if you that spiritual, you the golden child.
At two,
At 2, baby.
yeah.
Well, I would say we all are gold. This is not brown, this is gold. But anyway, when I became spiritual, I was able to forgive my father.
Wow. Now, but you were
You
were told all these stories of your dad.
my dad was a professional boxer.
Your dad was. Go ahead.
And he was, I mean, even as a little boy, I mean, just hearing about him, he was a professional boxer, had a title shot. He was bigger than life.
Oh, he had a title shot.
Yeah, and I had to reconcile with that what he did.
Yeah.
And with a lot of kids out here in our community, we have that estranged relationships with our father. And I just want to use my story to say that you can overcome it.
Yes.
You can overcome it. You can still be good. See, sometimes the violent trauma that we see out here in these streets, it makes us bad. It turns us to evil. That's a trick of the enemy to try to confuse us and beguile us and make us think that the right way ain't the way. But if a regular guy like me, I'm nothing special, can turn his back on all that hurt and pain and look to help his brother and sister, so can you.
What do you think helped you get over it? And, because obviously you didn't get to spend any time around your dad, yet you were fed all this information about him. You held all these reservations about him. But what got you to the point where you forgave him?
I think, just believing and understanding the story that there is more to it. My grandfather was walking at my father with a gun. And my father reacted and pulled his gun and shot him. And my mother jumped in the way because she was trying to save her father. And these things happen, and it's not always black and white, but you got to keep your mind on one thing. Lean not on your own understanding, but rely on Jesus or whatever your power be. I hope you would follow Jesus. Right. And that would be my mission. If you keep your mind on that, forgiveness is easy. Not wanting retribution is easy. Right. It becomes easy to be a brother and sister to your neighbor.
Let's fast forward a little bit. You matured. You got past a lot of the hurt and pain that had developed in your early years. Now you're at the point where you want to address things that's going on in the community. You want to help the young brothers and sisters be able to get past their transgressions and to be able to grow and succeed positively.
Right.
Okay, so now we're at that point where you develop a program.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so speak to that, because how long you been in existence with Paladin Initiative?
Well, I think that, when I was a young man and when I first got out of school, I founded a Cub Scout pack, and I took inner city at-risk kids to the circus and mentor kids. And
this is coming out of high school.
Well, no, this is out of college.
Okay, out of college.
My mother sent me away. That's one of the ways she kept me off the street. She sent me to military school. She sent me away to school. But when she sent me away to school, I saw white supremacy.
Yeah.
I went to Riverside Military Academy, which is a historic military school down in Gainesville, Georgia. In the lobby of the school, the Ku Klux Klan was a social club. Hundreds of years. It's been there 87. The Ku Klux Klan was there 87. And they had the pictures of them in the robes. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at
this is at a training facility to be a military person.
Well, it was a college prep, and they used the military as how to make you disciplined. My mother knew. I didn't have a dad.
Right. So
And
she knows you need it.
She needed to know that I needed discipline, so she sent me away to military school because when I was 14, 15, I started coming home drunk and high. And my mother said, you know what, if you don't get it together, I'm going to send you to military school. I said, send me to military school, and I was at military school. And like I said, in the school lobby, I went there in 87. The Ku Klux Klan just stopped being there in 85. But
the mentality was still hovering around in the administrative offices.
Yeah, I still had to fight every day. I had to fight every day. I got red alerted like at least once a week. Black people are being sold in Libya right now, and it's not on the news. Yeah. That means that the media and a whole lot of people are complicit with the reinstitution of slavery. And the white supremacists are here.
That means for AKA, for all the layman's terms, they with slavery.
They with it. So understand that we are this far from Trump declaring martial law. Slavery in America is still legal, and it's in the Constitution under one circumstance. That is if you're a felon. Right now, Obama put a prohibition on private prisons. Trump took it off. Trump is profiting off of his businesses while he's in office, and he owns a lot of stock in private prisons. So we are this far from him declaring martial law. He already threatened it at the beginning of his administration that he'll send the feds to Chicago.
Yeah, he did. He sure did. To where you had officials in civic communities in Chicago saying that you're gonna have a tough go trying to come down there and mess with the young black people down there.
Right, and so that leads me to say is that we have to organize. We have to get our communities together.
So is that what you're after? Is that what you're after with the Paladin Initiative?
Oh, without a doubt. By collaboration, we look to eliminate the number one enemy of black people, and that's poverty. If you look at mass incarceration, low educational performance, teenage pregnancy, poor nutrition, you can go down the list. All of it's connected to poverty. So in order to solve those problems, you got to solve the biggest problem facing our people, which is poverty.
And to do that, you said the best way to go about it that you've done so far is to collaborate with other groups.
Right, because there's a lot of groups out here doing a lot of great
Any
work.
groups on your radar right now in particular that you either tied the knot with or looking to get down with like right away?
Well, I think that I'm an alpha man. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
That's the 100 black men thing?
No, that's a college. That's the first and largest and most influential black Greek letter organization. And Martin Luther King was an alpha man.
Okay.
And our motto is servants of all. There's 700 alphas here in the greater Cleveland area. I want those brothers to come back to the house of Alpha and let's get to work service in the community. How much good could we do if we had 700 men dedicated to helping alleviate poverty and mentor the youth and work to improve the community? And these are professional men.
So let me get it straight. So you're leaning on your history. You're leaning on your organization, the Alpha Males.
Well, that's one organization, and then there's lots of other ones. I mean, there's the Omega Psi Phi, Kappa Alpha Psi, Phi Beta Sigma, all these Greek. We have coat of arms. We have coat of arms because we're champions. We're
So
knights.
you're calling these groups.
I'm calling
to
them
come back to the table.
Alpha, Kappa, Sigma, don't matter. What matters?
Yeah, because all I know y'all to do is to throw the hands up and make the noise and everybody drink a few drinks, and then I don't hear no more about the stuff. I really don't know what the stuff be about. Forgive me for being ignorant. I
Right.
thank you for enlightening me on the alpha men.
But,
I appreciate that. But yeah, to call them guys together to do that. Now, if you wanted somebody to reach you where they can actually get with you to do that, where can they reach you at?
Well, I have a number. I'll give it out. 216-220-1560. And you can contact me at my Gmail, which is basically my name at gmail.com. God bless you. Do good.
Now, before we go, Joe, real quick, give a word to the young man, the young woman coming up. They don't really know what they want to do. They've been through a lot of trauma and turmoil in their young life, and they don't know how to forgive just yet. Speak to them.
You're not garbage. The world might try to convince you that you are trash. The whole premise makes you feel less than something else. You are beautiful. You are golden. We were made in God's image. We were the first man. They just saw the other day, they found the first Briton. He was a black man in Great Britain. We were the first man here. So the Bible says, now you may have your problems with Adam and Eve, but we were the first man on earth. And we were made in God's image. Everything else on earth comes from us. So know that you're not garbage. You are made in God's image. You're a part of God is inside of you. And if God is inside of you, all things are possible through you. And you are good. You are good and you are noble. Don't ever let anyone let you forget that.
Oh!